Supertyphoon Paka in 1998, DRC Inc. was hired by the government to conduct cleanup work for debris removal. 6 years later, in 2004, the company sued the government for $7 million plus interest for lack of payment. The government filed a motion for summary judgment contending no contract existed to pay DRC any more than what it already had. But the Federal Emergency Management Agency then authorized payments for GovGuam expenditures related to the cleanup. On March 14, 2008, DRC and GovGuam, through then-Governor Felix Camacho's Chief of Staff George Bamba, entered into a settlement agreement for $11.1 million. 10 days later, the payment was made. Several weeks later, though, the Attorney General's office learned of the settlement as they had not authorized it. In February of this year, the presiding judge granted the AG's office motion to set aside the settlement agreement. And it's that decision that DRC has asked the court to reconsider. And the AG's office has asked for permission to amend their pleadings as they want that money back from DRC. 2 years ago, Bamba defended his actions of settling the claim with DRC, claiming he did so at the advice of the AG's office. This is what Bamba had to say would happen if the settlement were invalidated.
If he invalidates the settlement, then the government will still have to pay the funds, or we'll have to still pay the vendor. You know, where we're gonna get the money? Well, we had the money from the congressional appropriation, but now, since it was earmarked specifically for that purpose, for that case, to resolve that case. So, you know, the government of Guam would have to give the money back to the Treasury of the United States, which we don't have.
Bamba said it would be ironic to go after a company that the government owes money to, believing that they would just sue again and it would result in additional costs to the government. But Assistant Attorney General David Highsmith is pursuing the return of the $11.1 million as the presiding judge's order issued earlier this year authorized the AG's office to oversee the settlement negotiations. Attorney Highsmith says they're willing to negotiate with DRC, but they want the money back first. In December, they argued a motion asking to amend their pleadings to make the counterclaim. DRC, meanwhile, has also moved to have the judge recuse himself from the case, claiming he has a conflict of interest with the former Assistant AG Bill Bischoff, who was working on the lawsuit. Both the judge and Bischoff have interest in an unrelated case dealing with a coral pit in Dededo. Highsmith says the judge will have to first decide on the recusal motion before deciding whether to allow the government to amend its pleadings to pursue the return of that $11 million. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm India.